Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're talking about what if deku was experimented on. So, in the last video we talked about how after, Izuku took a bath and he started going to school, they were told by All Might that they're going to be starting off their brand new class called Heroics. After showing off his, hero costume, he also met his brand new classmate, being, wait for a second, Sue Asui, which she almost tried to, bite Izuku's face off because, being half, or at least, having a frog based quirk. So, they were tasked at doing the heroes versus villain, fight, where he's gonna be fighting his adopted sister, Shota. So, after defeating Shoka, they started going to, to, to the cafeteria so they can eat lunch. After doing that, they also met some brand new people, including a girl by the name of, you know, um, Izumi, which is an old friend of Bakugo's, more like old enemy than anything else, and a girl by the name of Miss Melissa Shield, aka another member of the Appreciate Project. So, that is basically what happened last episode, and after that, Izuku basically goes back to sleep back at home. So, that is basically what happened last episode, and so, let's talk about what happens next. So, we move to Izuku in class, as Aizawa would tell everybody that, they're gonna be going to a certain place known as the USJ tomorrow, which is going to be, well, the end of their first week at UA. So, after that, they started leaving. As for Izuku, Izuku would start leaving with his, sister Shoka. So, after leaving with Shoka, they started getting ready for the USJ. And it's finally the day. The day is the day of the USJ, which is not going to be a happy day, in fact. In fact, this is actually going to be a massacre. So, we go inside of a bus, and this bus was filled with Class 1A students, including himself, as everybody's telling each other about their quirks and their weaknesses. As this girl by the name of Suyu Asui would say this. So, Izuku, or Izukun, can you please explain what is your quirk exactly? Or your quirks? As he would say this. Oh, yeah. My quirk is, not really one. I technically have three. First, it's called, wait for a second. First, it's Insect King. It allows me to create many types of insects with my own hands. The other is Hive Mind, which allows me to control these insects. And finally, I have Super Regeneration, which it's pretty obvious. As one of them would say this, so you basically cannot die? As you would say this. Yeah, pretty much. But unless if I sustain some enough damage, I could probably die, but for now, I'm pretty lucky not dying today. As one of them would say this. So, are you excited for the USJ? As he would say this. Well, yeah, at least I get to train. Unlike my old training site. As one of them would say this. What do you mean? As he would say this. When I was a part of the Appreciate Project, my training site was a bit more different. Much more damp. And much more of a prison than anything else. We mostly fought with prisoners than anything else. We mostly fought off against villains that decided to, destroy the world, let's just say that. And we used them as nothing more than training dummies. Even one killed them. Uh, as everybody was shocked hearing that, as he would say this. What? As one of them would say this, being Melissa, which decided to join as well. Wait for a second. Melissa would join because of the request of All Might. Because after all, they were a part of the Aprishiki project as well. As Melissa would say this. Yeah, as one of them would say this. So, can we ask what is your quirk? As she would say this. Well, it's not technically a quirk, it's more like it's been enhanced. As her arms would transform into almost machinery, as she would say this. I'm actually more like a cyborg now, after the Aprishiki project basically failed. So I'm basically an automaton, a reflection. As everybody would say this, cool. As Izuku would say this, whatever. As one of them would say this, Izuku. As Izuku would look over and see, well, Melissa. As Melissa would say this, so do you remember back in the day, as he would say this, oh no, please don't remind me of that. Oh, I'll remind you of that. As one of them would say this, remind you of what? As she would say this, well, back in the day, he would, pretend to be my husband. We would always play house back in the day. It was absolutely cute. As he would say this, but we were kids, okay? Whatever. As he starts like covering his face, as one person, being, well, Shoka would kind of look angry. As for, well, wait for a second. But Tsuyu would also look kind of angry at Izuku, as he would say this. We were just kids back then. Whatever. Let's just, whatever. He would just like start becoming a little bit red. Even though he's basically the same shade as red as like the blood that he always spills. Basically. So, when they did get to the USG, everybody started getting out of the, well, bus as they meet with the Hero 13. After her whole speech, just like in canon, they started moving around and seeing all of the sights of the USJ. After a while of looking around, well, just like in canon, they see the League of Villains. The League of Villains would introduce themselves as they're getting ready to teleport everybody. But Izuku would not be in the crossfire. This time, Izuku basically jumped out of the portal and not basically teleported, as both Aizawa, Izuku, and Shoto or Shoka are basically there all by themselves, surrounded by villains, as one of them would say this. So, this will be easy. As this kid, this boy, wearing... Actually, he seems to have several hands all over his body, saying this. Now, kill them all! As the villains would start charging in, as Izuku would say this. Really? Guess I can't hold back anymore. So, Aizawa, can I? As he would say this. Do not kill them. As he would say this. You're no fun. Oh well. My Center Spear. Come to me. As his Center Spear would transform into spear form, as he would get ready to fight and jumps into the fray, basically slicing some of the body parts of these villains but not killing them. As Aizawa would say this, I told you not kill them. As he would say this, don't worry, I didn't kill them. Besides, they're probably not gonna die out of like blood loss or anything like that. As he would bring out several of his insects, as the insects that are basically, like the beetles, basically start burning into the flesh of the villains, causing them to basically faint and making them, basically fall down to the ground and completely knocked out. As he would start spewing out webs, not the poisonous ones, at his well, enemies, as some of them would be tied up just like Spider-Man. As for Shoka, Shoka would start creating ice upon ice, as this man with the several hands all over his body would say this. Kodagiri, bring out the Nomu. I want those brats to be defeated. As he would say this. Okay, Sir Shigaraki. As this non-existent creature, or at least that thing that's right beside that handyman that Izuku prefers to call him, well, seems to be smiling. At least, or at least that's what Izuku is thinking. As a portal would appear, as this large bird-like creature would appear with darkened skin and seems to be wearing nothing but shorts. As this handyman would say this, or Shigaraki as he's preferred to be called. Now, I want you to kill these brats, including that Eraserhead of that. Well, wait for a second. Destroy Eraserhead, that little cunt. As this creature would start charging in, getting ready to smash Izuku wide open. As Izuku would get punched a few dozen miles away. As he would get up and says this. I never felt that much pain in a while since I fought that little bastard back in Russia. Now, I guess I can't hold back. Aizawa, am I allowed to kill this little fucker? As he would say this. Sure. As he would say this. Finally. As he would spit out webs instead of the non-poisonous ones, it's the ones that are poisonous. As these webs are used as whips, as he would start smashing them into this Nomu. As when he slices them, or at least slices the body parts of this Nomu, they started regrowing. As he would say this, being Shigaraki. You really think that you can actually beat that thing? It has regeneration, shock absorption, shock absorption, and wait for a second, I meant super regeneration, shock absorption, and finally super strength. As he would say this. Oh, I see. You're just like me, an artificial quirk user, right? As Shigaraki would say this. Not technically. It's made from actual quirks. As he would say this. Really? Well then, I guess this is going to be a fitting end for this little bastard. As his center spear would appear and transform into its spear form. As he would say this. Now, my lovely insects, kill him. As these insects would start coming in like a swarm, as it starts going into, or at least inside of the Nomu, basically going into it in every orifices that it literally has, including its eyes, ears, and mouth. As the Nomu would start puffing up, turning into basically what you think of, well, that, certain fetish, which I prefer not to talk about, as Izuku would jump and slice it in the brain, killing it. As Shigaraki would be pissed, as he would say this, you cheater, you cheater, you cheater! That was supposed to kill All Might, and how the hell did you defeat it? As he would say this, well, have you heard of the Aprishiki Project? Well, I was one of their test subjects. I guess that's why you couldn't defeat me. Now, how much can you endure this much pain? As he would bring out his strings, or should I say webs. These webs would come out, now tangling Shigaraki, as he would say this. Now, any last words? As he would start pulling on them, as the venom from these poisonous webs would start getting absorbed into his flesh, as he would say this, Konagiri, get me out of this! As Konagiri would say this, yes, master. As they were teleported out of the USJ, as Izuku would say this, that was exciting. Ah, I hope to see you again, Mr. Shigaraki, because I certainly want to fight you. His smile would start becoming more Joker-like, as everybody would come out of their, well, whole situations, including Suyu and, well, Melissa. After that, they basically left the USJ, and they were told that they can rest for now. They're not allowed to go back to school in a few days, and they were also told by the school and also by Aizawa that they're going to be having a sports festival after the 2 weeks. As Izuku would say this, oh well, too bad. As Shoko would say this, oh, Izuku, what are you doing? As he would say this, oh, I'm just making some adjustments. As he would start making, well, his center spear much more sharper and much more deadlier. As she would say this, so, would you like to, I don't know, maybe have, as he would say this, have what? As she would say that, I meant, wait for a second. Would you like to, I don't know, maybe like go back to that soba place? I heard it's brand new. As he would say this, go to this brand new soba place. Let me guess, you just want me just because of my wallet. As she would say this, yeah, but I heard the soba there is pretty good. And he would say this, fine. As she would say this, great, maybe we could go later? As he would say this, what time? As she would say this, maybe like, I know. Wait for a sec. 4:30. That sounds good? As he would say this, I guess. And so, when it's finally 4:30, they start leaving the house to go to that brand new soba place. When they made it there, they ordered their food. As for typical Shoto, she decides to go for cold soba. As for Izuku, Izuku decides to go for something brand new. Some soba with the side of like some sushi. So, after a while of eating, they started talking about how it was crazy at the USJ. As she would say this, yeah, our first battle with villains. It was scary, but still, it felt, well, memorable. As he would say this, I mean, yeah, but I did fight villains back when I was like, 7. Actually, I can't remember. Anyway, so, why did you even bring me here in the first place? Was it just because you want to reminisce? As she would say this, well, not exactly. As he would say this, what do you mean? As she would say this, well, when we first met, when I first met you, I thought you were just going to be just like, you know, just like the rest of us. But you were much stronger, faster. In fact, you're even greater than me, especially with your artificial quirks. And in fact, you couldn't even be erased. As he would say this, you're talking about my quirk? As she would say this, yes, even though, for a second, even though Mr. Aizawa has the ability to temporarily erase a person's quirk, because your quirks are, or at least your quirks specifically, are artificially made, he couldn't erase them. As he would say this, yeah, so what? As she would say this, well, I wanted to say this for a long time. I, mm, I admire you. Everything. Even though you're a bit insane, but you're still a great person in my eyes. As Ezekiel would feel something. A feeling that he never felt before. Love. As he would say this. Whatever. Stop calling me that, okay? It feels weird. And besides, it feels like you're about to confess to me, even though we're basically technically siblings. As she would say this. Heavens no, like, what do you think I am? As he would say this. Well, we are technically step-siblings, so... As she would say this. Whatever. Let's just go back. As he would say this. Yeah, agreed. A pretty nice meal, in my opinion. As she would say this. Yeah. Maybe when Mom comes back, says Izuku, maybe we can bring her here? As she would say this. Yeah. Maybe. She would smile. As Izuku would say this. Anyway, let's go. As Shoka would say this. Yeah, let's go. As they start leaving, going back home. So, when they did get back home, Izuku would start going back to his room as he starts fiddling with some stuff. Mostly with his bugs, as he gets an alert from the Hero Commission telling him that he should come there immediately. As when he did get there, he would see the leader of the Hero Commission, Damien. As Damien would say this. So, I heard that you were attacked in the USA, right? As he would say this. Yeah, so what, Damien? As he would say this. So, please tell me or at least, what the leader looked like. As he would say this. Well, I couldn't see his face all that well, but I did see that he had pale skin. Seemed to have pure, not really pure, more like bright blue hair. And he seems to have red eyes. He also seems to be quite scratchy. He seems to scratch his neck a lot. And he seems to have several hands all over his body. I'm guessing he has a hand fetish or something. As Damien would say this. As he would say this. So, do you have any names for him? As he would say this. He did say, or at least that Foggy Eye said, that his name was Shocky or whatever. But I'm probably thinking that it's not his real name, maybe just like a villain name, or a code name. As he would say this. I see. So, what did they call themselves exactly? As he would say this. Oh, they called themselves the League of Villains. As he would say this. So, the League of Villains attacked you and your class. But why? As he said this. Well, apparently he bring out this Nomu thing, or whatever it's called. Apparently that thing was supposed to kill All Might. But, well, wait for a second. But, unfortunately, that thing was easily dispatched by me. I mean, like seriously, it's basically like a worse version than the Prestige Project. I mean, at least they're much more successful than that thing. I mean, it seriously don't have a soul. Like, it's like a zombie. As one of them would say this. A zombie. Alright. You can leave now, Mr. Izuku. As Izuku would say this. Okay. Nice talk, I guess. As he would say this. Nice talking. As he would start leaving. Let's go back to Shoka right now. So, we moved to Shoka, basically in her room, basically covering her face with pillows. As she would say this. I can't believe I ever said that to him. It feels weird. Like, why do I feel this way? Even though he's my stepbrother, it feels so weird. Ever since we met, I felt different. Like, he's not my brother or anything like that. So, am I falling in love with him? No, 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 no. He's like my brother. But he's not blood related, so no, it sounds weird. She starts pounding her head multiple times in her bed as she would say this. Shoko would eventually fall asleep. As for Izuku, Izuku would also fall asleep in his bug nest. So, this is going to be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!